Right, here we, okay.
So we're about this bottom third,
Mhm.
Mem Dalet Amud Beis, Itmar, Ketana Shel Iskasha Shalom Das Avia. So yesterday we spoke about if Nara could accept her own Kiddushin, and we came out like a Yochanan, that even according to her, wanted to say that a Nara could accept her own get, but she cannot accept her own Kiddushin, and that's why Paskin. Yesterday we spoke about if she has a yad, then if she possibly could. And the way I was probably understanding it and explaining it was, even if the father would consent, but she doesn't have a yad, she doesn't have the ability to accept the Kiddushin. But I think today we're going to see now like that the subject is if she needs the father's consent.
I thought here we're talking about that the father died.
Were you starting today's Gemara?
Yeah,
So I didn't start it yet, but
no, I mean, I'm just saying, without the father's das, oh, that would imply that he must be alive.
right.
I see, so it can't be.
So I think that maybe after we have to re-evaluate yesterday's sugya, it could be that the issue is if you need the father's consent. Maybe she does have a yad, then the only question is if she could do it on her own, independently, without the father agreeing. And that was yesterday's sugya. Maybe I have to look at it again. Today's sugya, we're going to see that if the father consents, then even a katana also might be able to accept her own kedushin. So I just wanted to make a remark before we started yesterday's Gemara. Maybe we need some re-evaluating if the issue is if she has the ability to accept the kedushin, even if the father accepts, or the issue is if she needs the father's consent. Maybe that's the issue. So we start the Gemara today. So the very interesting Gemara. The whole issue is going to be about the Ketana doing it on her own, and the Gemara doesn't address the main problem that should have to be explained. How could the Ketana do it on her own? She doesn't have the ability to make a dush. And here the Gemara is just going to talk about if the father could be assumed that he consented or not. If he consented, then the Ketana could, which what's that all about? So we'll say right away what the Rishonim say. He has to ask the Gemara. Itmar. My thing is not working so well. Try. Okay. Here it is. That's today's topic.
Mhm.
That she accepted Kiddushin without her father's knowledge, without her father's consent. Let's say without her father's consent. So the Gemara talks about.
Oh, I forgot.
Thank you. So it's not some machlokus over here, and just to jump ahead a little bit, the Gemara is going to say that for sure, if the father would have been happy about it, then it is a good Kiddushin. That's not going to be the sugya. The only question is going to be, can we assume
If she knew he would be happy?
if we know that he was happy about it,
even if he wasn't asked, so to speak, or even if he didn't know about it, is that what it means?
or when he found out, let's say they knew about it before. Let's say that if he would have known about it before that she wants to, and he's happy about it, then the Gemara is going to say for sure it's a good Kiddushin. I'm just previewing a little bit what the Gemara is going to talk about. That's not the subject. That's called shalom das, means that he didn't openly say that he consents. Now, during the Kiddushin wasn't. Now, so I would have said it's a Kiddush even if he's standing right there and he says, "Yes, my daughter, you can get married," and she accepts. I would have also that's not good. But they bring down. The article helped me over here. They bring down the rush. The rush over here is very short, one line, but they refer us back to the first parak, that few tests. And over there it says, open Gemara, that if the father told the daughter Ketana to accept Kiddushin, then it is good. And over there the post can have a problem. How does it work? What's the lumdus? How does it work? And they learn, and the world learns out from Amar Vriya. This is only an introduction to our study. That Amar Vriya is such a thing called Yud.
What's Avriya?
Amar Avriya, the Jewish maidservant. And if the master wants to marry her, that's called Yud. He could marry her, like the Pasuk says, he has the right to marry her, or he marries her to her son. And over there, the Gemara talks about where's the Kiddushin, where's the money for Kiddushin. So the Gemara had two possibilities: either Moser Rishonos, either the money that the master had paid to the father when he bought her, that's the case of Kiddushin, or it's the work that's left over that she didn't work yet, and the master says, no more work, now you're going to be my wife, and she doesn't have to work anymore, that's worth money. So that's the case of Kiddushin. And the Gemara says, if it goes according to what's left over, the work that's left over, so you see that she's the one who's getting it. She's getting the case of Kiddushin. If it was in the beginning, when the Moshe Rishonos, when the father sold her, the money that he got that was the kesef kedushin, so the father accepted the kedushin. But if it's not Moshe Rishonos, but it's the work that's left over that the master now is waiving, that she doesn't have to work anymore, so he's giving it to her. So she got the kesef kedushin. From here, the Gemara learns out in the few tests that if the father tells his daughter, take your kesef kedushin, it is a good kedushin, even though he didn't take it, she took it. You see it on the few tests. There's almost 2 lines. I didn't pay enough attention over there when we learned it at the time. But the Gemara says, Omar Rav Nachman Omar Adam Le'obito Katana Siva Kalbi Kiddushayah. A person could tell his minor daughter, go out and get your Kiddushin. Means that accept it from the person. You test, yeah, about 5 lines from the bottom, 6 lines. And you learn from Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina, because Rabbi Yosef Yehuda, he says, most of Rishonos love the Kiddushin Ditnu, that the original money is not considered the Kiddushin. Whatever's left over, that's the Kiddushin that he now is mevata to the girl. She doesn't have to work. That the girl can accept Kiddushin. The Rishonim over there problems. She has no schia, so they say that that's the cheres makna. There is schia, but the authority of marrying herself off. Here it says that the father could transfer it to his daughter. He can give over to his daughter the right to accept the Kiddushin, and that's the Rosh says. That's what the Gemara is based on over here. That's what the Gemara is based on. That is, it would be possible for the father to authorize his daughter to accept the Kiddushin. And also it's going to be, did he authorize it? Do we assume the way Choshen that he authorized it? So here the Gemara starts. Shmuel said that she does need a get. Means that it was a good Kiddushin. And it means if she wants to stay married, okay, stay married. But if they want out, so she would need a get because that is a good Kiddushin. But she also needs miyan. That's also like that. What does that mean? Miyan. We all mean refusal. And when is the halacha of refusal? We know, as we've known until now, it only exists when a father died. There is no father around. Then you have this girl that's not married, and she's a soma, and it's not safe for a girl to be by herself. So the Rabbanan invented the Kiddushin the Rabbanan, and usually they call it that the mother and the brother, it could be herself also. There's no difference to the mother and the brother, that if she marries without the father, there's no father, so that's a Kiddushin the Rabbanan. And she could leave anytime she wants, as long as she's still a father, she can just say, I want out. That's called yun. She refuses and she walks out. There's no get necessary. The whole thing's Kiddushin Rabbanan. Once she grows old, once she's already an adult, and she stayed married to him, so then the Kiddushin would become the Raisa when they have relations. But that's what we know about Miyan. Here it says a fascinating halacha that she needs a get and she needs Miyan.
And when she does Miyan, it's as if there was no marriage.
I forgot the ramifications of that. That there never was a marriage. Okay.
The next line.
The next line.
You can read that.
I forgot. Okay, I didn't see it. So Shmuel says that B'choshesh that it's Kiddushin, and the Maris doesn't yet know what we know. Shmuel said something which is fantastic. First of all, she needs a get. And also she needs miyan. Miyan only is when it's not a Kiddushin. And here if there was a Kiddushin, and we only know miyan to be by Kiddushin Rabbanan, which when there's no father, here there is a father. What's happening? What is something about miyan over here?
Why is there needing a get? Why is that amazing if she's Kinnis Kaddish?
Right, so the question was she's only Ketana. That's why I needed my introduction before. You learn Ketana in the sense Kashin. So the Chiddush was, but the Rosh speaks out that and the few tests says there is such a thing that the father gives over. If the father gives over authorization to her, she could do her own. She could do it on her own. So here, the most of them say that we're choshish that maybe the father gave over his consent, and that's why he needs a get. But the miyan is going to be what? What's miyan? Miyan means when there's no father, and to have a get and miyan is like what is that all about? Omar Karna. Karna said Karna is a Amora. You don't find them often, but you find them sometimes. And he says Dvarim Bego. Something's doing over here. The word Bego means inside. There's something inside over here. It means something's behind the scenes. Doesn't make sense. In get lama miyan, in miyan lama get. If there's a get, then there's no reason to have miyan. If there's miyan, there's no reason to have a get. Is a Kiddushin, is a not Kiddushin, is a Kiddushin that rises, is a not a Kiddushin. We would have asked a little differently. We would have asked, what's miyan all about? What's miyan? There's a father over here. There's no such thing as a miyan when there's a father. But he asked that these two things contradict each other.
I would have asked a little different. I would say if you're giving gets, with the rights of divorce, so
Is nothing.
What do you mean for?
What do you mean for? So it's a little similar because the whole thing. Again, I'm asking, there's no such thing as miyan on when there's a father. You're saying that if there is a get the rabbanon, you don't need to get the rabbanon if you have a get the raisa. Okay. you entered into these words about Mikana Labo, and here you saw already that the issue is if you're going to be taking it off the Mafreya, there was nothing.
The other reason that we need Miriam, the reason that we need Miriam.
Okay, so we'll see in a second. Then let's go. Amru, I learned a little different then. Amru, so Karen didn't understand what Shmuel's talking about. What?
In other words, I learned.
No. I learned from you many times. So Shmuel said that she needs both, and Karna said, I don't understand. Amrulay, so they said to Karna, Hamarukva, Ubeidin, Ebekafri. It's another way of saying, like, let's go ask the big Rabbanim. Marukva was the Dayan. Rashi speaks out that Shmuel was not around here to ask him. Could have asked Shmuel himself, but Shmuel wasn't there. But go to Marukva and his Bezdin in the city Kafri. Kafri is the name of the city, and Marukva was the Rosh Bezdin, and he had a Bezdin. So go ask the Rav. It could be that's an expression. They didn't go to Marukva. They didn't go to him. They can most say right away they sent the letter to Rav. But maybe it's an expression that they say, they go to the Rabbanut, there's somebody here, go to the Rav, go to the Rav of the city. So if you have a kasha, so Shmuel didn't make sense, so go, let's find out. So they sent the question to Rav. It doesn't say they sent it to Marukva, they sent it to Rav. So it says Afua means that they sent it the opposite way. We had that Shmuel is the one who said she needs to get a meal, and Karen is the one who didn't understand it, so that doesn't make sense. And they sent the opposite. They sent that Karen is the one who said that you need to get that meal, and Shmuel is the one who said it doesn't make sense.
So when does Rav come in?
They sent the letter to Rav. They asked Rav. Does Shmuel make sense? Does Karen make sense? Does Shmuel make sense? But when they sent the question, they didn't send it the way it was really that Shmuel is the one who says that she needs both, and Karen said I don't understand. It's a contradiction. They sent it opposite. That Karen is the one who said that she needs both, and Shmuel said I don't understand. Rashi says that they switched it around intentionally, which is a big Kiddush. And Rashi says because maybe they thought that if they're going to say Shmuel said it, maybe Rav's going to lean towards Shmuel and he'll bend over backwards to say Shmuel makes sense, which is very hard because you find always Rav argues with Shmuel, and also that they're going to say the wrong halacha because he's a friend. Very hard. The Rashash points out that sometimes Afua doesn't mean intentionally, sometimes it means unintentionally. They got mixed up. They sent it the wrong way to Rav. Elohim tzricha get to tzricha means Rabbi on his own, even though the question was posed that Karna said she needs both, and Shmuel said it doesn't make any sense. Rav said, of course he needs both. Tzricha get Elohim, he swore by God, he swore by Hashem. Tzricha get to tzricha mean, and it can't be that Shmuel said he doesn't understand. And like Chas v'Shalom, that the children of Abba bar Abba would say such a thing. Shmuel's father was Abba, his name was Abba. And Abba's father was Abba. I mean, Shmuel's father's name was Abba bar Abba. We have that in Brachos over there. A story about going to the basic forest. Shmuel was looking for his father, and he asked, "Where's my father? Where's Abba?" So he said, "Many Abbas over here." He said, "Abba bar Abba." He said, "Many Abba bar Abbas over here." He said, "Who's Abba bar Abba, the father of Shmuel?" So you see, in other places also that Shmuel's father's name was Abba bar Abba. But they called him Abu the Shmuel. They called him. But anyway. Here the Gemara says that Chas v'Shalom, that the child of somebody from the seed, somebody from the descendants of Abba bar Abba will say such a thing. Wow. Means Rav said it can't be Shmuel made such a mistake, and the truth is he didn't. Shmuel that Rav and Shmuel said the same thing. But when they sent the message to Rav, they said that Shmuel said it doesn't make sense, and Rav said Chas v'Shalom that Shmuel said it doesn't make sense. Of course, he's a Talmud Chacham; he's going to understand that it makes sense. Wow. And what is the reason? So Mar still doesn't understand. So what's the reason? Why do you get Anmiyan? Well, the time of my, what's not going to reason? She needs to get because maybe the father was happy about it. Rashi says that maybe he was happy before it happened. Let's see, Rashi, if we could. I think I saw Rashi. Go to Rashi, a second wide line.
Not a field before that.
Kodem Kiddushin. So I just see the word here. Kodem Kiddushin. Maybe there's Rashi before that.
Kodem Kiddushin.
Rashi in the second white line says that this is going to be the Kodem Kiddushin. Okay.
What's Kodem Kiddushin?
Before the girl accepted it, maybe the father was happy about it. The father heard about the shidduch and he was happy about it, and therefore, when the girl is authorized to take her Kiddushin, that's the reason why she needs a get.
My Rebbitzin requested that we leave the front door locked on the yeshiva and not leave it open for anybody to walk in. People who know the combination come in, and people have to knock.
Right, what is
You
it again?
shouldn't leave your front door open.
What is it?
So you're gonna lock it.
What is it?
2490 Y.
2490.
Y with a Y.
Mhm.
After clearing, she said, please leave it.
Okay. Makes sense.
So Rebbe explained she needs to get because maybe the father agreed, was happy about it. And Rashi said she was happy about it before the Kiddushin. Tzvicha mian. She also needs mian. Why does she need mian for? Means if she got a get, so then she's divorced. And mian is an invention that doesn't exist. Mian is an invention when the father is not here and she got married with Rabbanan, so they made a mian. What is mian all about? Shem alone is ratzah b'kiddushin. The yom when kiddushin tovsin b'chosa. So I'll say what I thought, and I've just maybe learned differently. That maybe the father never agreed, he wasn't happy about it, so it's not a Kiddushin. So what's the problem if it's not a Kiddushin? People are going to think that it is a Kiddushin. The fact that you made her get a get, so people will think that it was a good, well, it was a get. The get must mean there was a good Kiddushin. So the people will think the fact that she got a get, that it was a good Kiddushin. And if this chassan is going to marry the sister, her sister, people will say that it's not a Kiddushin because it's a chos ishto, that a person cannot marry his sister-in-law even after he divorced his wife, only if she died. But if she divorced her, he cannot marry the sister. And people are going to think that it's the fact that she got a get. So it was a good marriage and a divorce. And now the sister is highly increases. And therefore, if he married her, it's not a good Kiddushin at all. So we don't want him to make a mistake. So we made an invention to make a mian which doesn't exist. So the people will get, oh, something happened over here. The fact that there's a mian, they'll say that I don't understand. They're not going to, if the only would be a get, people would rely on that to say that there was a good Kiddushin and a good get. And therefore the marriage to the sister doesn't take effect. But we want to make sure people should know that they don't understand. So we make a balagan, we make a craziness, we make a get and a me, and people say, I don't know what's happening. So they're going to go to the Rav and ask him, and they'll say that that's a suffix only. It's only a suffix Kiddushin. Really, it's a suffix Kiddushin. But we're not going to just say to give a get, because on the side that it's not a Kiddushin, the color will come out.
You still can't marry the sister.
He cannot marry the sister because maybe he wasn't married.
Right.
But don't think that there's nothing,
Right.
and the Kiddushin is not chal, and she's not married because maybe she is married. Did I say it?
Yeah, I just learned that if there's mian, if she leaves because of mian, people will say she was never married, and therefore.
But they see she got to get also. So that makes the balagan. That we just want them to get mixed up and say, I don't understand. When people see they don't understand, they have to say, I don't understand. So I go to the Rav and ask. I thought that's the shot because there is going to be a get. There is going to be a get.
Yeah.
So this the mian alone, even if it wouldn't be, even if it was Mikhail, also they'll see that something's happening over here. What's this? It's not a regular Kiddushin. So they'll ask and they'll get the answer. But maybe
I thought whatever. I thought just mian alone.
Maybe
shows-
that shows that it was never
When
anything.
people see that she left because of mian, so they say it wasn't.
And even though the real mian doesn't make sense because everyone knows that mian is when the father is not around, then she married herself. So this whole thing of mian is like they're talking in the back room of the coffee room. What's happening? Mian, what's mian? She has a father. So I think it's just a
Mian deems the brothers us, right? The other brothers. Is that the point of it?
mian is to tell everybody that even though we gave a get, even though we said she should get a get, that doesn't mean that it was really a marriage and really a get. It's a suffix marriage. It's just to make people, how do you say, crazy. It's just to make people.
Okay, no, but I mean in regular Mian.
Regular mian is that there was a marriage drabanan. There was a marriage
It had
drabanan.
nothing to do with I'm thinking of Yiva.
Either one, Mamre, maybe Mamre and Hebrew. This is a regular girl that her father,
just got
she's a
married to
Yasoma,
somebody.
she's a Yasoma, she has no father, and they invented a marriage drabanan, and they invented a divorce drabanan.
Okay.
That's the pshat, and Shmuel said that. Kind of didn't understand. Rab understood, and now said for sure Shmuel holds like that. That makes a lot of sense. So now Avrohom Bid Rav explain to us.
What's the achosa here?
Yom when Kiddushin Tovsin B'chosa. People are going to think if you only made a get, if you only give a get, so people will think that it's a real get. That means that was a real Kiddushin and a real get. And if the chassan is now going to marry the sister of this girl, they'll think that it's not Tofis. And people will say, "En Kiddushin Tovsin B'chosa." People will think that Kiddushin don't take effect on the sister of this girl. If the husband's going to now marry, because it's a sister-in-law, the sister-in-law is no Tofis Kiddushin. So we made this balagan by showing that there's a mian, and people will say they don't understand, and they'll ask the Rav will say that it's a suffix. It may be interesting that every suffix Kiddushin you make them get a get. Maybe you'll have to make always this trick. But usually you don't have this trick because she's not a katana. Here is a katana, so we can make this trick in order to avoid a possible misunderstanding. Every time you have a Suffolk Kiddushin and you give a get, people will think that if someone married their sister, it doesn't take effect. But here we have an Eitzah. It more continues. Amar Rav Nachman. When I choshesh that the father agreed, only if there was a shidduch before, means that what we call a shidduch, that they presented the possibility, proposed the possibility, and the father was happy about it. So the fact that the father was happy about it beforehand, and now the girl accepted Kiddushin from this chassan, so there's a big time to say that the father agreed, and he authorized his daughter to accept it. That's when Shmuel says, Yechoshesh for the Kiddushin, and she needs a get. But if not, you're not Choshesh. Even Shmuel will not say that Yechoshesh if there was no shidduchin before. Ula Amar Afilu Min in the Tzricha. So Ula seems to argue on Shmuel. If we would just get the halachas, the psukim over here, we'll make them in highlight. Shmuel said Tzricha get and Tzricha Min, and we had the whole explanation for that. And now, still there? Yeah, still there. And Ula Amar Afilu Min in the Tzricha. So he argues on Shmuel. You're not choshesh that the father accepted, that father agreed. But the more jumps up, Alpha the shidduch, even if they made a shidduch, even though they proposed before, the father was happy, and now that the girl accepted the Kiddushin, you also not choshesh that, but the more doesn't accept it. Alpha the shidduch. So the more says, Ma the masniha lo masniha. He who learned that didn't learn that. So Rashi explains that the Rav Nachman who said V'hushe shidchu, if that's true that Shmuel only said it when they made shidduchim, so then Ula would not have argued on that. Ula would not have argued. But the one who said, Ula says that did not learn that Shmuel is talking about V'hushe shidchu, and they're only arguing by lo shidchu. According to Rav Nachman, Shmuel said that she choshesh that it was a good Kiddushin, Shem and Esrat Sa'av, and therefore she needs a get. And according to that, Ula would not have argued. But there are those that learned this lashon that said Ula argues because he understood that Shmuel is coming to be mach even if without a shidduch. On that he argued, and he said, "If there's no shidduch, you don't have to be choshesh that Shem and Esrat Sa'av." So far it comes out, according to what we just learned, that if there was shidduch, everybody holds that Yechoshesh, the father agreed, and it's a good Kiddushin. You at least Choshesh, you need to get Misafik. And if it was Lo Shitchu, then there's Machlokes. According to the one Lashon. According to one Lashon, there's no Machlokes at all. Ula didn't argue. If it's Shitchu, if Shmuel only holds by Shidduchin, Yechoshesh, then Ula didn't argue. And those who say Ula argued is because they're coming to say that by Lo Shitchu, that Shmuel was machmir even by Lo Shitchu, and Ula's not being machmir by Lo Shitchu. Second white line, some say that Ula said that says come out word for word the same thing as before, that you're not choshesh for anything, that the Ktan accepted the Kiddushin, you don't need mir. And according to this lashon, Rashi says that even shitchu also. So it's a little Taisa has problems with this. Taisa has different way of learning. Yes,
this is saying that shenit kacha shaloda savia, that is true. And he's saying like
no, that's a case. That's not a halacha. That's a case. That's the case in the beginning. It's word for word as before. We scroll before. The yellow. That's the case. What's the halacha? Shmuel says tzricha gets tzricha miyam, and Ula says she doesn't need even miyam. You don't need
Igadami. It's the same thing.
So it's the same thing. That's a problem. So it's why is it called Igadami? So some want to say. So Rashi says that the Igadami holds that Ula holds she does not need mion or anything, even if shitchu. The first shitchu means again, right? There was a proposal on the
thought it meant
that only by low shitchu.
Without the das of the husband, and she doesn't need mion.
She did it without the das. The case is she did it without the. No, there's 2 points. One is the case is this is not.
Shmuel said she can get married without the das of the husband. Isn't that what Shmuel said?
Everyone holds husband, you mean father.
Father, I meant father.
And everyone holds that you need it. Everyone holds you have to have the father. Everyone knows you have to have the father. There's no such thing as a kind of getting married on her own. Okay. The issue of Shmuel is b'choshesh that the father agreed.
Oh, okay.
And there was a question if Shmuel said that only if there was a shidduch or not. Did they talk about the shidduch before? Did the father hear about it? He was pleased. Nice proposal. And then she went ahead and she accepted it. So Shmuel's going to say that pleasure that the father expressed, so it means he's happy about it, and he authorized his daughter to accept the Kiddushin. That's what, and if he was not shidchu, maybe Shmuel never said that. Only if the father didn't hear up the proposal, all of a sudden he hears his daughter got married. Like, what happened? I never heard about this before. Then Shmuel's also not going to be choshish that the father agreed. That was one lashon. And the first lashon says that Ula is that there's another lashon that said that Shmuel would have been machri even by lo shidchu. A question in the first lashon if Shmuel was machri even by lo shidchu. The father didn't hear about it, and then he hears that his daughter got married. Maybe b'choshish that he agreed about it. He's happy, and he was happy. He was happy before, and then the second lashon says that was not choshish even by shidchu, even if they had a shidduch and the father heard about it, then he was smiling. But afterwards, he finds out that his daughter accepted Kiddushin. He didn't agree to it. He never authorized her, and it's not a Kiddushin. So we have a machlokas. We have Shmuel, who says Yechoshish, that the father was agreed. And the question over there in Shmuel, if he meant even lo shitchu, by shitchu, surely he is choshish. And Ula, there's a question if he's arguing extreme, that even shitchu also he's not choshish. That's how it depends how you read the Gemara.
Okay.
Third wide line. So just comes out what the Gemara is going to deal with is that Shmuel invented a miyun when the father's around. We never heard of such a thing before. If we learned the whole Shas, I think, I don't know, we didn't do that, the only didn't have so far, but we never came across such a thing as a miyun that the father's around. Miyun only exists. It's whole thing's an invention that they invented for a girl who doesn't have a father, Yisoma, she should be able to get married with Rabbanan, and they invented a way to get out of it. They invented the marriage Rabbanan, and they invented the refusal, the exit. But now Shmuel tells us a new invention that sometimes that the girl has a father and she has to have miyun. What's that all about? In the case where she accepted Kiddushin without the father consenting outright, ayechoshesh that the father consented. So we have to give a get because maybe he consented, but we have to have a miyun in order to sort of neutralize the get. That the get is very powerful. People might think that it's a real get, and therefore the Kiddushin to the sister is not going to be foul. So he invented a miyun. Even at we never heard of such a thing, a miyun in the lifetime of the father. And the Gemara is going to try to prove if that's true or not. So in the third wide line, Masir Rav Kana. Rav Kana is a kasha from a Mishnah in Yevamis, which we learned a long time ago. Bekulan and Mesu, or Miyandu, or Misgashu, or Shenimsu, Islanders. So we're saying Torah. It's the first Mishnah in Yevamis. Over there talks about Yibum. And there's such a thing called the Erva. And a woman who falls to a brother-in-law who happens to be an Erva. So there's no Yibum. If she falls to her father, let's say that's the case we're going to be talking about. Let's say she married her uncle. And now her husband, the uncle, died. And now she falls to his brother. His brother happens to be her father. So of course there's no Yibum. So that's what the Mishnah says. And also it says that Torah saying also that if there happen to be two co-wives, there have to be another wife. Since she doesn't fall to Yibum, so also her co-wife also doesn't fall to Yibum. Now it says, what if she was Mamayin? Oh, Miyanu. What if she did Miyun? That before the husband died, she got out. How did she get out? Either the husband died or divorced her or Miyun. So they really have 15 cases over there. All kinds of cases, 15 cases. That's what I rise. But one of them is the daughter. And the Gemara thinks that the case of Miyun is going in all the cases. So here you have a case. The Gemara is going to point out, here's a case that there's a Miyun to the father.
Miyun to the father because he's the brother.
Right.
Because she married the uncle.
So she married the uncle, and she was Mamayin to her husband, the uncle,
She's Mayan
to her husband, the uncle, and there's still a father around. Because that's the case. The case that her husband died, now she's going to give him to her brother-in-law who happens to be her father. So if the Mishnah means like that, the Gemara thinks that the Mishnah is saying, the Gemara is not going to say it differently. The Gemara thinks that when it says that 15 arayas, that they parted at Sarah also, because they're never to the brother-in-law. If they got out of the marriage before the husband died, because the husband died before he died.
What?
Yes, please.
Miyun means that the husband's alive, doesn't it? You don't miyun someone.
Yes, but then
so why
they did miyun.
This whole thing about evil?
They did miyun before he died. It was a woman who was married,
and then he died.
Right. And then
So did the Mian do anything?
did the marriage do anything that the tzara should be put? The tzara, she's a tzara serva. There's a husband who died, and he had two wives. One of the wives was an erva to the yavam.
Who had two wives? The guy who died.
The guy died.
He had two wives.
He had two wives, and he dies. They fall to Yibam.
Yeah.
And there's a brother who they're going to fall to Yibam to. It happens to be that the brother, who's the
father
yavam,
of one.
is the erva of one of them.
Yeah.
So since the erva to one of them,
everyone was to both.
so then the co-wife also doesn't do
Yeah.
Yibam.
Yeah.
And now this erva got out of the marriage before her husband died. How? She got divorced, or they died. Oh, she died. She died. She got out of it because she died. She's not in the marriage anymore.
Mhm.
And then when the husband dies, the co-wife is left by herself.
And she's permitted.
So then she does do Yibam.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it says. But one of the cases is the Gemara sees that it says Mianu. Either the woman died, or she did Mian, or she got divorced, or she was an islandess. For whatever reason, she's out of the marriage. One of the cases is Mian. And it happens to be that the 15 cases over there, one of them was the father, Hito. One was it says over there 15 cases. One of them is that it's the daughter who married her uncle.
Okay.
And if you put two and two together, it comes out that there's a case where this daughter, who has the father still alive, because that's the question, that they're falling to Ibum. They're the one who, so he's alive, the father's alive. And it says that she did this Katana, this girl, she did Mian to her husband. What's that all about? No such thing as Mian to a husband when there's a father around. As far as we know, the whole Shas, Mian is only an invention when there's no father.
Oh, so this shows that
There is
there is such a thing as Mian with the father alive.
right. That's what the Gemara wants to prove, to show Shmuel's
That's all
right.
just in this one little thing here.
Yeah, I wouldn't have figured it out. I mean, it's going to say it in a couple of lines.
Thank you for explaining it.
Rashi,
I don't know that I got it already, but it seemed to me that
So here it says in the Mishnah, all of these Ervis, if they died or they did Mian.
this is Rav Kahana.
Rav Kahana's kasha, yeah, Rav Kahana. Now we see Rav Kahana, we're gonna. I think we would have said it ourselves that the Mishnah says Mian, it doesn't mean all 15 cases, whichever ones they apply. But he took it that it's applying to all of them, unless the Mishnah over there says some of them are also cases where she's already gave birth, so she's not doing Mian anymore. She's a big girl already. But here it says that if they died, or they did Mian, or they got divorced, or they were found in islanders, so then they're out of the picture, and therefore the tzara does marry the Yavam because nobody told the co-wife. But the Kitchaman, this girl who does Mian, who married her off? Who married her off? How did she get married in the first place? Elam with the Kitchavia, if the father's want to marry her off, the Mian Sagila, Mian's enough. Get Malia by, she needed a regular get. Means when the father marries off his daughter, it's a Kiddushin that rights, and she needs a get to get out. There's no Mian over there. It must be Elalab the Kitcha. It must be that she married herself off. And there's a father over here. The Katani the Bayam Mian. So the Gemara is very interesting that it doesn't say the point that it says in the Mishnah over there, the daughter. You have to look at the Mishnah, and Rashi helps us out. But we're supposed to know the Mishnah in Yavamis, and one of the 15 cases is the daughter. And if it says that there's Mian, so you see that there's Mian of a daughter to her husband, even when the father's alive. What's that? We don't know such a thing. So you see Shmuel's right, that there's such an invention of Mian, even when the father, what will be the case? We have to now just dress up the case. The case was that this girl, she married her uncle on her own. That was the case. She married her uncle on her own in the father's lifetime, and therefore she had to do Mian in order to get out of, like we said, because there's a get and a Mian, so she had to have Mian, and therefore there's a case of Mian in the lifetime of the father. So you see Shmuel's right. Who most of law, he asked the kasha, Rav asked the kasha, he also offered a teretz. It happened to her, the issue of a orphan in the father's lifetime. There's such a thing as an orphan in the father's lifetime.
Where are we now?
Where the answer starts. That's where the answer starts. Who most of them he asked the kasha, and he's the one who answered it. Rav answered his own kasha, and he says there's another case of having a Mian in the father's lifetime. That is, that it happened to her, the issue of an orphan in the father's lifetime. It means usually we only know of an orphan after the father dies. Right. There's a case of an orphan in the father's lifetime. What is that? So it's really a simple case, that even though we said that Mian only applies when the father died, and then there's no father to marry her off, so they invented that the brother and the mother and herself, they can marry herself off by making Kiddushin Rabbana, and that they made a Mian. There's another case that they invented a Kiddushin Rabbanan with a miyun. A simple case. The father married her off. The father married, she's a girl, young girl, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, the father married her off. And the husband died or divorced her. But it was a full marriage, a Kiddushin, Nisuin. Once there's Nisuin, the father's out of the picture. Once she's out of the father's jurisdiction. Say you have an 8-year-old girl, little girl, but she had a lot of life already. She got married, Kiddushin, Nisuin, and then the husband died.
Okay, but that doesn't make her an orphan.
But she has a din of an orphan because the father has no jurisdiction over her. So what's going to do with this girl? No one's going to say she can't marry. So they're running and invented, just like they were running and invented for an orphan to be a real orphan. They invented for her Kiddushin to be able to get married. Kiddushin Rabbanan, that you get out of Anion. It could be the father's technically alive also, but once she has no jurisdiction over her, she's in the same predicament. She can't get married. So they invented for also Kiddushin Rabbanan. So it's not a kasha that the Mishnah over there says that there was a mion in the lifetime of the father, because this was already the second marriage around. The first marriage, whatever, the husband had died or divorced her. She got married again, this time to the uncle, but she did it on her own because she's already in her own jurisdiction. The father married her off, and now she did mion to get out of it. So it's no kasha. The kasha was we found the mion in the father's lifetime, and we thought it's a right to Shmuel. It's not a right to Shmuel because everybody holds there's a case of a mion in the father's lifetime. In the case once he already married her off, Yisuin, so then she's on her own and it's Kiddushin Rabbanan and then mion to get out of it. Another place the Gemara is going to ask from that seems to show that there's a Kiddushin, a mion b'chayei ha'av. It must say bottom line, another kasha. We had about this in the beginning of the Masechta about Avrohom, that a father could sell his daughter as a maidservant, and then there's a year to marry. So Tanakama says he cannot marry her, he cannot sell her to relatives. Why not? Because there's no option of yield. Whenever you marry, you sell the daughter as a maidservant, there has to be an option of yield. And since there's no option of yield because it's a relative who's not allowed to marry her, like his brother. Is that a good example? He won't be able to marry. No, the niece would be able to. A son. He won't. A father. He can't marry her. He can't sell her to his father because the father has no option of marrying his granddaughter. So, ain't morchul problem. Man cannot sell his daughter to a relative who's an heir because there's no option of yield. Mishum Abulazor, the problem. Abulazor he could. Of course, he can't do a marriage. He can't do yield, but he could do a maidservant without being an option of marriage. Okay, so far it's good. V'shavin shemochra almana l'kohen god l'grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hedil. If it's not mamash and erva, it's not a chiva kris. It's only a chayv elabin. Like a kohen gadol to marry an almana. So this girl, this long little girl that's being sold as Avrohom, she's an almana, and he wants to sell it to a kohen gadol. So it says that even if Elazar holds, even Tanakam holds, he could sell it to a kohen gadol because it's not a chayv krisos. So it's called that it is possible to do yid. You're not allowed to do yid. He's not allowed to, but it's not chayv krisos. So there is theoretically a possibility of marriage, even though it's not al mutter, but it's called the possibility of yid. And grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hedil, again, that it's allowed. So therefore, even Tanakam holds that he could sell her. So the one wants this almana over here. What's the case of an almana? What is the case that she's an almana? She's a little girl. That's the right. She's a ketana. That's the whole case of Avrohom. She's a ketana, and she's an almana. What's the case? How did she become an almana? How did she get married to become a widow? Elaim with the kid shall be her. If the father was the one who had married her off, is he able to sell her now a second time? Once the father married her off, he's not allowed to sell her. A person cannot sell his daughter for service, for being a maidservant after he already married her off. So if he had married her off the first time around, then he could not sell it to anybody. Not only can that, he says he can sell it to a kohen, he can't sell it to anybody because once he married her off, he lost jurisdiction of selling her as a maidservant. So it can't be the case. It must be that she married herself off, and the father's still alive over here because he's selling her. There's a case here. We found another case of a girl marrying herself off in the father's lifetime. Do we see anything about mion? So we have to find that there's mion over here.
Again, it's like what I would call like a virtual almana.
No, she's a real almana. Are you saying that?
How's she a real almana? She's out of
Are
the
you saying that
jurisdiction.
you're saying that she? Why is it not a real almana? You're talking a virtual orphan or not? Before we spoke
Virtual-
about the orphan,
oh.
before we spoke about that
What's
she's, her
almana?
father's alive, but she's still called
Oh, almana is
Yisoma.
not an orphan.
Yisoma means that her husband died.
Uh-huh.
Her
Almana is her husband.
husband died. So what did the Gemara find over here?
We're looking for Mekudeshes, that's what we're.
What are we looking for?
Mekudeshes. Just want to show that it's done as Mekudeshes.
We know that
And that she's doing miyum.
and the father didn't do it. Is a father? So I take off the not about miyun. You have something about miyun here, or nothing about miyun. Does you see it as possible for a daughter, for a daughter that has a father to be mekadosh herself in the lifetime of the father? Because here you see that she married herself off, and the father's still alive.
Yeah, the second time, after she lost the husband.
No,
She has to first lost the husband,
And that
the father has to marry off, then the husband died, and
yes,
now she can marry, now she can do it on her own, once the
that's not what the
husband
Gemara is
we're
looking
saying that
for.
the father's selling her.
The father's selling her. The father's not
died.
married
Second time? Second time?
because he never married her. He never married her off because she did it on her own. If the once
first
if,
one she did on herself, and then he dies,
yes,
and then now the father comes back into the picture.
and he wants to sell her.
Just,
So it says that he can sell her to even though she's an almana
right,
because her husband died after she had married herself off,
Right.
and she's called an almana. So what do you see? That it was called a marriage. The father didn't marry her off the first time because then he wouldn't be able to sell her. He didn't marry; she did it herself. So she did it means that she married herself off even though she had a father.
Right.
So what? So you see that you see like Shmuel that it's possible to marry herself off even though she had a father,
uh-huh.
which is very difficult because everybody agreed in the Gemara before that if the father agrees,
Right,
she could
that's
do
right.
it. The only question was, did he agree or not? And by Shadach, everybody agreed. By Shadach, everybody agreed that's it. So it has something to do with the point about if Mamish agreed, so then it's called again that he married her off. You have to get a case where he didn't marry her off. So if she did it on her own, and you say that's enough to make that she's married, but not that the father did it. That's what the was looking for. Taisa has the catch that he could have said Shadach over here. Taisa says, and then he wouldn't be able to marry off anymore. So we're looking for a case that it wasn't mamish with shidduchim. If it was for shidduchim, the father agreed, he was happy about the engagement party, that was happy about. So then it's called that he married her off. So we have the case of lo shadich, and we see that even by lo shadich, b'choshesh nisrat sa'av, and it's a good kiddushin. So that's what the Gemara wants to bring about to Shmuel. Amar Rav Amram, Amar Rav Yitzchak, Kacha b'kiddushin yiyud, B'alibad Rav Yossi, Rav Yudah, Da'amar Moshe Rishono, Slav b'kiddushin nitnu. I have a different case to say how she became an almana. And how she became an almana, the father sold her. The father sold her. He didn't marry her. He sold her the first time, and he wants to sell her a second time. After the first time, the master did the
What do you mean the time finished? How do you sell a second time?
How do you sell it? Yeah, because what happened in the first time was that the master married her, like Yiyud.
Oh, he married her.
And then he died.
And then that became a marriage.
Right, and then he died.
And then he died.
The husband died. Master husband died, and now she's an almana, and he wants to sell her now to a kohen gadol. So we have a case where she's an almana and the father's alive, and he didn't do it. It's not called that he did it. It's not called that the father married her because he didn't marry her off. He sold her. But the Gemara still says it depends. How did she get married? And that's what the Gemara's question. Where's the kesef Kiddushin? When someone does yiyud, where's the money that he gave for Kiddushin? There's the two shittas. One says Moshe Rishonos. One says it's the original money that the father received from the buyer, the master of this maidservant. So then it's considered that he married her off. So he wouldn't be.
Yiyud, I thought, is just the intention. Is it? What is yiyud?
Yiyud means that he takes her as a wife. The master takes her as a wife.
Oh, yiyud meaning like what?
She's designated to him, and she's married. They're married. The master took her first. He bought her as a maidservant.
Means like that. What's yiyud?
Yiyud, designation.
Designation.
But a designation that's marriage. It means that he married her.
Okay, and so how did you do that?
by telling you, you are hereby my wife.
Mhm. And now we're asking about what was the.
And that's so now we're talking about where's the money? Where did he give money? So there are two choices. Where does the master give money?
He bought her.
Right. So that's the machlokes. Even today we mentioned, is it the original money that he gave when he bought her, or is it the money that he says you don't have to work anymore?
Right. Okay.
If it's original money, then it's called that the father married her off. And therefore he cannot sell her anymore because he already married her off. How's it called? But if it is, here it is. Once he married her off, he can't sell her as a shifcha. But if it isn't the original money that comes money Kiddushin, but it's the leftover money that she has to work still, and he says, you don't have to work anymore, now you're going to be my wife. So then she's the one who married herself off. That's considered she married herself off.
By
agreeing
that her working is now going to be the payment.
Right. And
Or
therefore
his
the
payment.
father didn't do it, and therefore he
Or
could
lack of
still
working, whatever.
he could still sell her again. Now he can sell her again.
Okay.
So we got out of it. So we found another case of a marriage of a Ketana when her father is alive, and it's not a riot to Shmuel. That's the end of the Gemara. So what happened? It's two dots. We got up to the two dots. See
It's
it
not
inside?
a riot that she would need a get.
Oh, and Miyam.
Or me.
Right. Again, what happened to summarize the whole sugya today? The case was, if you scroll back, the name of the sugya
Two
is
dots over there.
Ketana Sheniskacha Shalom Dasavia. That's the subject of today. That's today's what do you call it? Koteret in English?
Headline?
Yeah. It's Ketana Sheniskacha Shalom Dasavia. And the question is, the Choshish, that is a good Kiddushin. So Shmuel says Yechoshish. Yechoshish, yes, Yechoshish not. So she needs get and miyun. And Ula said you're not Choshish. There was a question about Shadich, Lo Shadich. Is Shmuel saying you only Choshish when there was a Shidduchin first? Is Ula saying that you're not Choshish even if there was a Shidduchin? That's questionable in the Gemara. But the issue was, are you Choshish that the father was Nisratzer before the Kiddushin, and therefore he authorized the daughter to accept it, as the Rosh explains, and she has the right to. So Shmuel said yes, and Ula said no. The Gemara had two rayas to try to prove Shmuel. One was that you find the miyun of a girl who has a father, and the Gemara thought it's a raya to Shmuel, and the Gemara said it's not a raya because we find the case of a girl doing miyun even though she has a father. If it's the second time around, if the father already lost jurisdiction because he married her off with Nesuin and then she got divorced or widowed, and then she surely is on her own and she gets married, or now there's surely going to be a Kiddushin D'Rabbanan. Second kasha was that we find the case of a Kiddushin of a girl marrying herself off while she has a father. And the answer to that was it's not a right, because we find that by Yiyud, there's also another case of the girl marrying herself off. If you hold, you don't say Moshe Rishon Slav the Kiddushin Nitnu, the girl herself is marrying her off, but it's not a raya to Shmuel. End of that Gemara. We got it to the two dots, and we have machlokes. If a girl, a ketana, married herself off, shalom l'dasavia, ayachoshish that the father was nisratza, and therefore she would be married. If we know for sure the father was misratza, then it seems everybody would hold ayachoshish. Shmuel says yachoshish am nisratza, and if we need to get, also need mir, just make sure people know that it's not for sure, not real. And Ula was not choshish, and maybe he was also maskim if there was shidduchim, maybe also would be maskim also. The Gemara continues, and it is a continuation of the previous sugya. It's a continuation of the previous sugya. Itmar, meis benafla lefnei achiv liyibum. What if the continuation of the story? How do they say the plot thickens? It goes further. The same case. The girl married herself off, shlola dasavia, and then the husband died without children. So she falls to yibum.
Right.
Maybe Shmuel will say maybe. Ula will say no, there's not choshish for Kiddushin. There was nothing, it was a garnished. You don't even need miyun. So there's no yibum, she's not married, nothing happened. But according to Shmuel, choshish maybe the father agreed. So you don't know if she's chayiv in yibum or not, right? Maybe yes, maybe not. Is there any reason that she should not do yibum?
Well, here it says v'nafla means that
She
it didn't work.
It means that it's only the
Was the
case
marriage
again. It's the
direct
case.
to
It's
the
not
woman?
that the psak. It's the
It's
case.
not a psak.
It's that she now Chora falls to the Yavam. So
And we want
right,
to
so
know,
I want to know
is that true or not?
So it's according to Ula, she doesn't, right?
Uh-huh.
According to Shmuel, maybe. I'm just pointing out, it may be here, it's not, so maybe, so you can't do, you have to, sometimes we have, when it's a maybe Yibum, so we have to do Chalitza, because you can't do Yibum, because maybe not. But here it's not so serious, because on the side that she's not Chayv Yibum, she's not married at all. So there's no problem to do Yibum. If she didn't get the first husband, she got the second, she got the brother, and the first one was not a marriage. It's not Yibum, it's a regular marriage. There's no danger in doing Yibum over here. But the question is, if they want to get out of the Yibum, how do they get out of it?
Oh, was it nothing, or did they have to do chalitza? Is
Right.
that the question?
Right.
Mhm.
Ula will say that it's nothing, and you just leave. You don't need anything.
Just leave.
But Shmuel says it's a
Was
suffix.
she a katan when she got
Everything's a katana. Today,
So,
so
so we're talking about the rabbanon. She's not. There's no the rights of marriage.
no, we're talking about the Raisa because
Why?
because the father might have consented to her marriage.
So once he consents, even though she's a katana, that's the
Right,
rights.
that she consented before the marriage. If he consents afterwards, I don't think it's anything. The consent was going to be before. That Shmuel said maybe the father agreed about it. The more spoke about before, maybe because there was a shidduch over there. They had a proposal, an engagement party, whatever. But actual marriage, the girl did it on her own, and the father was not there. So is that considered maybe it was with his consent, and therefore it's a good Kiddushin because he sort of authorized her to accept her own Kiddushin based on the Gemara Daf Yud and Aleph that you'll hear later. That was the important criticism. So Shmuel says it's a suffix, and now the Gemara is continuing. In Shmuel's Mandiyama, what if the husband now died, and it's a suffix if she falls to Yibum or not? So if they want to do Yibum, go ahead, marry. You can marry. No reason not to marry. If it's not Yibum, then it's a first-time marriage. It's also good. But if you want to get out of it, how do you get out of it? I'm around. Rab also agreed to Shmuel. As you remember before, he was the one who sent the question, and he said, Chas v'shalom, that Shmuel made a mistake. So he also agreed to this halacha. So Rab said, the mian is going to help for the ma'amar. Means if there's a ma'amar also, talk about we'll say right away. If he did ma'amar, the husband before he died, he did ma'amar, which means he did Kiddushin, which is the Kiddushin for Yibum. And here it says that Miyun she has to do Miyun in order to get out of the ma'amar, but the Miyun is not going to suffice to get off the Zika, which might be a real Zika. If the marriage was a marriage, so then there's a real Yibum has to happen over here. And if you want to get rid of it, it's not enough to do Miyun, you have to do a real getting out, a real get. Or we'll see Chalitza. Let's see right away. Ketzad. How do you do? What do you do over here? So I'll try to make Ketzad. Also a mimer. If there was mimer, which is the case we just said, there's a case of mimer over here. So this again, she got married on her own. This girl, this Katana got married on her own. Shalom Dasavia, and the husband died, and then the brother did ma'amar, and now they want to get out of it. So she has to have tzricha get, tzricha chalitza, tzricha miyum. There was no such a thing. She has to have three things in order to get out. Why?
Why would she have to do miyun?
So before Shmuel said that by the regular case of marrying, a Katana marrying, he said get and miyun, right? Without the chalitza case, get and miyun.
Yeah.
So here also, it won't be a surprise that she needs miyun because we want to make sure that people know that the get is not a real get.
Okay.
Everything's a suffix. So the Gemara explains itself. Tzricha get, Shem Nesratza Av Kiddushin Sheni. Oh, this is interesting. Well, talking about the whole thing of Shem Nesratza Av. Now, it could be that the father, he wasn't happy about the first marriage. Again, this girl, she's a little girl. She's 11 years old, 10 years old. She's a little girl. And she married herself off to somebody. Maybe the father was not happy with it. Then he died. It could be a regular Kiddushin. Maybe the father's happy about that. She's still a Katana. Maybe the first one was nothing because the father wasn't happy. But the second one,
Mamar, he's happy with.
yeah, and that's like a regular Kiddushin, and she's married to the second husband. So that's why she needs to get. It means if we know for sure that it wasn't a new marriage, then the most you need is Chalitza. To get rid of the Zika that happened from the first brother, you need only Chalitza. But here the Gemara is saying it's possible you need a get from this from the brother. Why?
Because the father
wasn't happy with the first one, and now that he died, the one he wasn't happy with, he died, and then the brother did ma'amar, which is like a new Kiddushin, and the father is happy with that. So then it is a Kiddushin. So she wants to get out of that, she needs a get. Maybe he's happy with the second marriage. How come you need Chalitza? Maybe he was happy with the first marriage. He's happy with the first marriage, then that was a real marriage, and now that he died, it's a real Yibum. You want to get out of it, you have to have Chalitza. How come you need Miyun? Tzricha Miyun? Shem alone is Ratsa, Avlo Kedusha, Rishon, Avlo Kedusha, Sheni, V'yom, in Kedushin Tovsim Bachosa, which was the case we had before, that maybe he wasn't happy about anything, and really it's no marriage at all. But once we say you have to have a get, then we get nervous because people are going to see a get, they're going to think that it's a real marriage, and therefore, if the husband is which husband? The husband. The second husband now is going. Yeah, you're right. Since the second husband gave a get, so people will think that's a real marriage. And now, if this second husband, the brother, wants to marry her sister, they'll say that it's not chal at all because it's a chosishto. And really, it's not so strong. Maybe not. Which what the Gemara started off.
If she gets a get from him,
if she gets, how did the Gemara start off? That kind of said doesn't make sense. Get and miyam doesn't make any sense. Never heard of this. So Rab said, of course it makes sense because maybe people make. If you have to have a get, maybe the father was masking. Once you have to have a get, that triggers a problem. People will think it's a real get, real marriage. And now, if this husband is now going to marry the sister of this girl.
There wouldn't be a problem.
A regular marriage, they'll say that if it was a real marriage, the first one, the second one is nothing. Someone can marry a sister-in-law, and even if you gave Kiddushin, it's nothing, it's not chal. They'll say it's garnished. And really it is something, because maybe the first marriage was not a marriage, and the marriage to the sister is a marriage. So therefore, that's why Shmuel and Rav invented this new miyun in order to neutralize the effect of the potency of the get. The get makes it sound like it's a real marriage. And that has ramifications for the sister. If he really married this little girl, so with the father's consent, so then the sister is out of the picture because you can't marry a sister-in-law. The sister wouldn't be
if somebody divorces a woman,
and then he marries her sister.
And then he can't marry.
He can't marry.
Oh, only if she dies.
Only if she dies. But if she didn't die, he just divorced her. So then he cannot marry the sister. And even if he gave her Kiddushin, it's nothing. It's not chal. It's nothing. Because it's chayvi krisos. And Kiddushin tovsim b'chayvi krisos. So that was what we're scared of. That's why we said before that you need miyun in order to neutralize the effect that the get might.
The effect would be that he couldn't marry the sister.
And it's not, it could not, and it wouldn't take effect. People think it doesn't take effect. And if he did give her a ring, they'll tell you it's nothing. She's not Aisha, she's not married. And really she is. Well, at least the suffix.
Okay.
So therefore you need miyun.
And then Miyam, what's it going to do?
Miyun will tell people, you don't know what's happening. People will say, I don't know what's happening over here. Let's go ask the rabbi.
He'll wait before you.
He'll ask the rabbi what happened over here. Was it? And the rabbi will say you can't marry the sister, but other people should know that if you gave her Kiddushin, maybe it is Kiddushin, because the whole thing was a suffix. We weren't sure. So we have to neutralize the get by doing miyun. So that's
one
why.
thing I'm not getting is that if it were a real get, he couldn't marry her. So then what are we worried
again,
about?
I'm sorry. If it was a real get,
he gave a get
to this girl,
yeah,
and now we cannot marry her sister anymore. So he can't marry the sister anymore.
Yeah. So then what are we worried about? He's not going to marry her because he can't.
But if he would have married the sister, if he would have given a Kiddushin to the sister afterwards, why did he do such a thing? He had a cheshbon why he thinks that there was nothing, lo nisratzav, but really b'choshesh yes nisratzav. So he might have given her Kiddushin. And people will think that it's nothing, and really it might be something.
So we make her do miyun, and it's like another signal.
Right. It's just telling everybody you don't know what's happening over here. Go find out from the Rabbanut. Don't do things on your own because
okay.
the whole
I
thing
don't
doesn't.
understand if he gave a get. You mean he gave a get, but he thinks it really didn't mean something.
Because we say that because it's not so simple. Everyone's telling him the father didn't agree. You know, the whole thing is Shem Nisras, Shem Lanisras. Okay, so that was a fascinating thing. Get chalitza and miyun. Now that was all the case where he did maimer. Now the Gemara continues lo asa ba maimer. How about if this Yavam didn't do maimer? Again, she was a ketana that accepted Kiddushin from somebody, and he died without children, and she fell to the Yavam who did not do maimer, and now they want to break up.
He did not do minor, but so he's just a zakuka and some kind of.
So it's a suffix kuka. We don't know if she's a suffix kuka,
zakuka.
and he wants out. She wants out. He wants
She
out.
wants out. Somebody wants out.
So, and let's read chalitza ubad, because maybe it's a zika. So you have to get rid of the maybe zika. So you need chalitza. Do you need a get? No, because he didn't do minor. Do you need miyun?
Miyun,
Why not?
Because he's going to do chalitza.
But maybe people will think it's a real chalitza. and they get messed up with the sister. You get your choshish that maybe even though if you do get that triggers a problem, that people will think that it's a real get.
Also chalitza, also they won't believe it.
They'll think that maybe it's a real chalitza, maybe it's a vadai chalitza,
Yeah.
and then maybe they have ramifications for the sister. That people will think that if he married the sister afterwards, it's nothing, and really it's something.
I thought in a regular case when it's in chalitza, you can't marry any others. Oh no, I see. The other
You can't
brothers,
marry-
the other brothers can't marry her.
It's true. You can't. Achos chalutzasa also you're not allowed to marry. Achos chalutzasa. You can't marry just like you can't marry achos grushasa. You can't marry achos chalutzasa. You're not allowed to marry the sister of a chalutza. If you did chalitza to somebody, he's not allowed to marry a sister.
So why would you think he could?
So why the same as by the get over there? Maybe he
He didn't think
married.
it was a real.
Shem Nesras is Lom Nesras the whole thing.
Okay.
So more wants to explain why is the difference between chalitza and a get.
Okay.
That by chalitza, why get? We say that it triggers a problem. That maybe people will think that the marriage to the sister is nothing.
Yeah.
And therefore, we have to neutralize it by doing miyun to show that it's not so serious. But here the Gemara says you don't need a miyun here, only chalitza, because the Gemara explains, "My yamiti boy nami miyun shemu yom ben Kiddushin tavsim bachosa." You might ask that maybe she should need miyun because people will say that if you marry the sister afterwards, that it's nothing, and really it's something.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not a chash. Everybody knows that it's not tofus Kiddushin, that it is tofus Kiddushin, even if it was a vada chalutza. That it's not, it's a mistake. The kash is a mistake. Achos grushaso, if it was really your grusha, if it's really achos grushaso, then really Kiddushin is not tofus. And therefore people will make a mistake and say, oh, Kiddushin wasn't tofus, and then she's not a ish, really she is. But achos chalutza, even if it is a vada chalutza, Kiddushin is tofus. So there's no danger. A get triggers a problem. Triggers a problem that people might think it's a real get, and decide that it's a real get. The Kiddushin that he does to the sister is nothing, and people will think that, and it's not true. But by chalitza does not trigger any problem, because even if it is about a chalitza, also Kiddushin is tofus by achos chalitza. So it's only Rabbanan. The only issue of achos chalitza is only Rabbanan. And even if it's the Raisa, but it's not Chavi Krisa, so it doesn't take away Kiddushin. So Tamar Shlokish, Kanshana Rebbe, Achos Grusha the Raisa, Achos Chalusa Midiv Sofrim. That there is a Mishnah where Shlokish says the Rebbe tells us in that Mishnah that the Issa to marry Achos Grusha is the Raisa. The Issa to marry Achos Chalusa is only the Rabbanan. So therefore, there is no chash that you have to have miyun. Miyun is only to neutralize the mistake that people might make from giving a get, but that mistake doesn't apply by chalitza. Because by achos grusha, if it's a real get, so then they would make a mistake and think that therefore the Kiddushin to the sister is not tofus at all, and really it is because maybe it was not achos grusha. So, but by chalitza, there's no chash in the first place because even if it was a real chalitza, the Kiddushin is tofus by achos chalitza. So therefore, there's no reason to make miyun. That was the difficult part of the Gemara, and now goes a couple of stories.
There's Hanu
Up to Hanu, and it's going to continue with the issue about this katana that accepted Kiddushin. But now it's interesting. I mean, I hope it was interesting till now also. But now it gets a little bit easier, I think. And the Gemara starts with a story. Hanu Beitrei. There were two people that were drinking wine under a mat. They were drinking wine. 2 days under. Tzipi, and Rashi has one shot that Tzipi means a tree, under trees in Bavel, or some say Rashi is machzelas, that it means a mat, which means some kind of a machzelas, some kind of an awning. They were sitting under an awning drinking wine. One of them took a cup of wine and gave it to his friend. I hereby want to marry your daughter to my son.
How old was the son?
Sounds like a convivial picnic they're having.
What is the word?
Convivial
It
picnic.
was convivial then.
Happy.
That's what they had wine. They were drinking wine under a tree. The Chara doesn't make a difference how old the son is.
So I have so the daughter part,
Your son,
the father
your daughter,
Has
to my
jurisdiction over
son.
his daughter. He has no jurisdiction over his son. So that's going to be the Gemara.
The what?
I hereby want to marry your daughter to my son.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any chash? Is there any chash that they're married?
Was there any kshas?
It's like you
Yeah,
say, it's like I want to say, I'm marrying my son to your granddaughter. We have no control of my
control
son,
over-
and you have no control of your granddaughter.
So maybe you do have control
Well,
over
are
a
they-
daughter.
are
No,
they
the daughter is
minors?
not.
Granddaughter, I
So
said
who
his
says the granddaughter?
granddaughter.
Why say
No,
granddaughter?
I'm just saying, give me an example.
Okay.
Maybe they're minors? Is that
So the daughter was the girl was a minor, and that was a sugi before that. Okay, that you know the sugi a father could marry off his daughter. That is true. A father could marry off his daughter. We have a sugi if this daughter can marry off herself. She got authorization from her father.
Okay, but so
surely a
far
fa-
this is just the
two
father
fathers.
of the son saying
and
this. The
yeah,
father, we don't hear from
father
the
of
father of the
to
daughter.
the father of the daughter.
We didn't hear him say anything yet.
But if he accepted the cup of wine. He accepted the cup of
The
wine.
cup wine, let's say, is 5 shekels.
So if someone would have said, I hereby am marrying, I want to marry your daughter, a bitach with Kedushin, and he gave him a cup of wine, and the guy accepted, then it would be Kiddushin, because the father accepted it. But here, the issue is about the son. He wasn't marrying him, he wasn't saying I'm
Oh, and
marrying
he
her.
can be a shliach.
He could be a shliach for his son.
Yeah.
So he could be a shliach. He doesn't have any jurisdiction over his son, but he could be a shliach for his son.
Uh-huh,
That's what the issue is going to be.
okay.
Now, even before we spoke about that when the daughter did something, that the father consented, authorized his daughter to accept Kiddushin for herself.
So we're saying even if he's happy,
Even if we say by his daughter,
he's happy,
we are choshed that the father was happy
yeah.
and consented beforehand. But we don't assume that the son authorized his father to be Mekadesh him.
Was the son a minor or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter because of a minor also.
Well, they're not bringing in a shliach at this point.
Right. So let's say that he's an adult. The son is an adult.
And right now this sentence doesn't seem to be saying it's a shliach. We're saying the son isn't. We don't necessarily say the son will be happy about this.
So Rashi, the way Rashi says it at the end of Rashi says, Ben Eino b'shus aviv l'kadesh l'wisha shlo b'shlichusa. The son is not in the jurisdiction of his father to be able to marry him if he doesn't make him a shliach. So
If we say in the Shratza, it means that beforehand he was in the Shratza, so it's
what does it mean over here?
It would mean find me a wife.
We don't say that the
Over here
father.
would mean that he made him a shliach.
So that's the next was in the Gemara. That's next. Aychosh maybe made him a shliach. So that if you look at the next words, that's what the next word says. So the first.
Couldn't it just be I'm happy if you find me a wife? Then he's not necessarily a shliach, and we don't know.
So is that enough? Is that enough?
And according to this, we're saying we don't say that. We don't assume that he said that.
We don't
assume
assume
that he would think that if his father finds him a girl, that he'll be happy.
And if he would have told him, if he told him, if I'll be happy, I'd be happy if you find me a wife. But he didn't make him a
Then
shliach.
maybe we would. Then maybe
I'm not trying to read the Gemara. Let's read a couple of lines. The Gemara first said we don't say that the son. We don't say maybe the son consented, or whatever the word you want to say. Consented to the father. But the Rabban has maybe Mamash made him a shliach. Maybe the son officially authorized his father to make it be a shliach. He made him a shliach. Maybe the son made his father a shliach to marry me a wife, and that's why he took the opportunity to marry the daughter of this friend. The answer is lachotze finish l'shaviyeh lavu shliach. A son doesn't have the chutzpah to make his father a shliach. It's a chutzpah to make a father a shliach. You make somebody a shliach who's less than you. You don't make somebody a chashva person a shliach.
Over here, a father wants the son to get married, so his father's happy to make him to be a shliach. I wouldn't ask my father to go to the store to buy me bananas, but if it's something that he likes me to do, then
Rashi says the next kasha is maybe it's similar to what the next. The Gemara says v'dilma artzuye kame. Rashi says maybe the son presented the shidduch to his father, and he told the father, "I would like to marry this girl." And Rashi says that not that the son made the father a shliach, that the father himself on his own wanted to become a shliach, and zach nadam shlo b'fanav. If you know that the son wants to marry this girl, so then you could do it on your own. That's what the Gemara seems to say, that a person can take the liberty of being a shliach for somebody that they know that they want to marry this girl. That Ravina said explicitly that he doesn't hold the Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel, we go back to the beginning of today, the Rav and Shmuel are the ones who said that Yechosh Hashem and Nisrasa, about the father. Right. And Ula said not. And here the Gemara seemed to say that Ravina is going even. He says on the bottom of the page. The bottom of the page, Amar Allah said even. That's what he said. That's which is Ram and Shmuel, that you are choshish by the girl who accepted Kiddushin, and maybe your father consented. Here you're not choshish Shem Nisratzah. But now the Gemara changed everything over. That Ravina said before she doesn't hold the Ram and Shmuel. He holds like Ula, that you're not choshish Shem Nisratzah. So the only reason why he said over here that you're not choshish that the son made the father a shliach, or that the father himself, that the son told the father he'd like to marry this girl, and the father's doing it out of his schus, zechia. So according to, it comes out the Gemara makes Samapech over here, that according to Rav and Shmuel, that a choshesh Shem Nisratzah Av, you're also going to say Shem Nisratzah Bein, and you will be choshesh for Kiddushin. You'll be choshesh that the son told the father he wants to marry this girl, and it'll be a suffer Kiddushin. According to Ula, that's not choshesh Shem Nisratzah Av, then you're not choshesh Shem Nisratzah Bein either. So the Gemara, like very secretly, a little bit, very quietly, changes over the whole Gemara. Rashi says that, how could you do this? The Gemara says, that's what Ravina said. So Rashi says he didn't mean it really. He just meant to convince everybody. But he himself, according to them, really Yachoshish that the son made him a shliach, and maybe it's a serious question. Maybe the father married off his son, the shlichus of the son. But according to Ula, that says you're not choshish Shem Nisratzah ha ben ha av. You're also not choshesh Shem Nisratzah Ben. So the Gemara comes out differently than we started. We started off saying that even if you hold Shem Nisratzah Av, here you're not choshesh. It comes out that's not so. That really it is totally habaha. If you choshesh that when the daughter accepted Kiddushin, well choshesh maybe the father accepted before, was happy about it. So too, when the father accepted in the name of the son, maybe that shows us that the son had been happy about it before and had appointed him indirectly, whatever, to be a shliach also.
What is the thing about Rav and Shmuel here? What's Bekisha, the Kara?
Yeah, you're further already then.
You're just up to Artzia Kamea. Or where'd you get to?
The answer is Amalei Rabba.
That's what you said
that was
Rashi talked about.
That maybe that's Rashi, right?
Yeah.
And then Amalei Rabba Rashi, it said, Ravina said openly, explicitly, the low Shmuel, that he doesn't hold.
I see.
He doesn't know like Rav and Shmuel. Rav and Shmuel are the ones who said Yechosh Shem Nisratzah Av. Ravina doesn't hold like that. He holds like Ula that says you're not Chosh Shem Nisratzah Av, and therefore you're not Chosh Shem Nisratzah Ben. But according to Rav and Shmuel, that say you are Chosh Shem Nisratzah Av, you also will be Chosh Shem Nisratzah Ben. And this story of the cup of wine under the tree, it is a suffer Kiddushin, according to Rav and Shmuel. According to Ravina, it's not. Should we go further?
But it's so even if there is, why should be chayshish that he did such a thing? You have a cheskes pneuya, and the make pashas like Yaak said, it sounds like a joke. Why would you chayshish such a joke?
No, he didn't say joke. He said happy.
It's having a good time. If I give you a cup one and say marry off your grandchild to me,
No,
it would be a pretty big joke, no?
No, it depends on the times. I didn't mean it was a joke.
Okay, why would you take it so seriously? Guys having drinking wine.
They weren't shikar. They weren't shikar.
Okay.
They had a cup of wine. They had chashav pita.
They liked the families, liked each other.
What if he would have been himself and said, marry your daughter to me and gives a cup of wine?
It depends. If there's a 30-year difference, then no. Maybe if they're very close in age, maybe yeah. I mean, you'd see if it's not in, no.
That's your general question on the whole chance. This is your question on the whole chance that you always take things into consideration. How can you make a
right? Because especially this story doesn't happen every day. It happens when you.
But that's the general question in the whole chance. You're asking the Gemara makes this is the way it is. This is the way it is. You say it depends on the time, the people, the personality, all kinds of considerations. So we don't have an answer to that question, but here the Gemara talks Shemin Esrasam is everyone says Yachosh. He says no, for sure you're not Chosh. I will not answer that question. That's a general question on the whole chance.
At the very top when it says Lo Amrinan. Nitzvah ben Lo Amrinan.
We don't say that.
And then we're saying, but Rav and Shmuel don't agree with that.
Right now the Gemara is saying that really according to Rav and Shmuel we will be Chosh Shemin Esrasam.
Okay.
If everybody wants to, we can continue a little bit more.
Yeah, let's go further.
I would the guy with the Kaddish Bekisha the Yaakov Beshuka. A man married. Again, a ketana.
What's Bekisha?
A kisha means a bundle of vegetables. Yeah, a
With
bundle
a bundle of vegetables.
in the shuk. So he went over to a girl who's a ketana. Again, there's still ketana. The whole case is ketana. He went over to a ketana in the shuk and he gave her a bundle of what would you say? Huh? Greens, some celery, and he said, and she accepted it. Even if he say like Rav that Yechoshish that the father consented and it's a good Kiddushin because she was authorized to accept her Kiddushin, The father only consents that the daughter should get married in a respectable way.
Yeah.
But with a bundle of vegetables in the shuk, he didn't mean to authorize. He didn't mean to authorize her for such a kind of a condition. A ring, epis.
Ring under the chuppah.
So we're saying,
It's not. So it's no. She didn't authorize her in this case.
even if she agreed, he's saying.
If she'd be a gadol, right? If she'd be a
She's not a
gadol,
good, yeah, then there's nothing.
then she agreed. But the father doesn't make her a shliach, doesn't make her authorized to accept Kiddushin in a degrading way.
Okay, that's easy enough.
What's the bezayin over here? What exactly was degrading over here?
Besides
bezayin-
mine,
What
or-
was, yeah, what kind of bezayin was it? He bezayin the yarka, bezayin the shuk. Was it because it was a bunch of vegetables, or was it because it was in the shuk? You don't marry in the shuk in the middle of machni. And what's the nafkamina? The kaddish bekaspa b'shuka or b'kisha the yarka b'beisa. Nafkamina would be if you only have one of these two factors. He had both factors, very degrading. What would have been he gave her money in the shuk, or he gave her vegetables in the
Grains
house.
Uh-huh.
Amalei either one is a bezayin. Either is bezayin.
You mean
So-
even one without the other?
Right, either money in the shuk or vegetables in the house.
They're both degrading.
They're both degrading, and therefore the father didn't mean to make her authorized in such a case.
With the vegetables,
Yes,
either it's not worth so much,
no, it's
or
a
could it
pruta,
also,
it's a pruta.
either it's not worth so much, or is it that it's also not clear how much it's worth?
No, not because not clear how much it's worth. That's already technical halachas. Here talking about bizayon. The bizayon is that you don't mekadosh with vegetables. It will be during a famine and all that, then it is. But the case of that, it's not respectable to
Because of
mekadosh.
what it is, not because,
Right, because
not
of what
even
it-
if
right,
we don't know
right.
exactly how much it is,
Right,
but we know
right.
that it's a good thing.
Right.
Okay.
New story.
No, I wondered. Like,
10 shekels is
in other
okay.
words-
10 shekels. If you give
No,
her,
I mean, the reason that we use a ring is that like
Ah.
if somebody gave something that for sure is worth a pruta and it wasn't something degrading like a vegetable, even if you didn't know how much it was, it would take.
yes.
Okay.
All this is the Ketana. By a gadol, if she accepts it, she accepts it. You know, that wouldn't be a question.
Yeah.
We had cases of a
Yeah,
date
yeah.
coming up. A date, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if she, but here the question is the father. The father doesn't authorize his daughter to accept Kiddushin in a degrading way. Another story. Yahuda Amar Krivoi, Vi Amar Kreva. There was a argument between a husband and a wife who to marry off their daughter to. He wanted her to marry the daughter to marry his side of the family, and she and the wife wanted that the daughter should marry her side of the family.
Which words are which?
Krivoi
is
is my relative, and she said her relative. Kafse Adam Allah Tavi Kreva. So the wife made him crazy. That doesn't mean that. Kafse she forced him until he said, "Okay, you're relative." So he gave in. So now make an engagement party, and the relative, her relative is there, but his relative is also there.
Right.
While they were eating and drinking over there in the engagement party, his relative came, the one he wanted to marry, the one he wanted should marry, and they went on the roof and he gave a Kiddushin to the daughter, to the Ketana.
Okay, can you say it again? Outside.
There was the machlokes, the husband and wife, who to marry off their
Husband, or who to marry off?
their daughter to. They have a daughter.
Oh, to which family?
Yeah, he wanted my brother, and she said my brother.
And then she forced him to say.
So it means that he
for him
gave
to-
in. She
He gave in,
he
but
gave
then
in, he
in the
gave in.
meantime, his brother came and
He
they went
gave
up to the
in,
roof and he did.
And his
At
brother
the
came
party.
and gave her Kiddushin to the Ketana. She's a Ketana, the girl. Everyone's fighting over this
He usurped
7-year-old girl.
the wishes of the wife.
Right, and that not the father, the husband was innocent. He didn't have anything to do with it. He was eating downstairs by the Kiddush, and then
Okay,
he
he was
comes out.
innocent.
Then
Okay.
his brother comes down together with his daughter and says, "We just
We just-
married," and she accepted. And I know that you wanted, because you were fighting with your wife, because you wanted it to come to me.
I see,
So
but he did it on his own,
he did it on his own, but
knowing that
that the father wanted.
he also
So
knew that his
You know
daughter.
that, you know
He
that,
also knew that his daughter-in-law didn't want.
his daughter-in-law,
That's his sister-in-law.
Oh, sister-in-law. This is a brother.
It's his
sister-in-law.
sister-in-law. Yeah.
Okay.
Amar Abaye, Kesef, Sheretz Yisrael lo yasu avlo v'lo yadavu chazav. It says in the pasuk that Am Yisrael, the remnant of Am Yisrael, does not do iniquity. They don't speak falsehood. Once he promised his wife that it's okay, she'll marry your relative. He doesn't go back on it, and even
And it was
though,
nothing.
and it's not right, even though he did
Well, 'cause
want.
she's a minor.
Yeah,
she's-
don't question about the father. The father's the Baal Boss over here. The father's the one who makes those decisions over here. But once he agreed to his wife that I'll give her to your relative, he's going to
Then
keep
this
his
whole thing
word.
that the brother did is.
Right. And even though I did want, but now I don't
This is
consent
in
anymore.
Tzefania, okay.
That was a bayu. Rabbi Amma, that's right. Rabbi Amma chazak enad b'tavech b'suda mafsida. This I don't understand. But Rabbi said another reason, he agrees with Rabbi, but for a different reason. That a person doesn't make a meal, a feast, a celebration, and then it goes in the garbage. So since he made a feast, this engagement party for her relative, so
He
he's not
doesn't
going to call
lose
it
it.
off.
Must
I don't know
he
why he's going to call it
lose?
off. He's not going to lose it. He's not going to ruin it.
Right.
Why is he going to ruin it? He's using it now for the for his relative.
No, but
Because-
it's,
No, but he,
I think
It means the
that's
whole
what
party's going to be off. It's not going to be a party anymore.
not
we're
My
not gonna
bad.
have, the balloons are gonna get burst.
exactly.
My v'nayu, v'nayu delo Torah. Or be machlokas abai and Rabba. If there was no big suda, no meal. First, he agreed to his wife that will marry you off to your relative, and there was no party, and then his relative came. According to Abaya, he doesn't go back on his word. According to Rabbi, he might go back on his word. He just won't.
According to Rava,
He might go
if there
back
was
on his
no
word.
party, he might go back on his word.
He's just not gonna ruin his be paid for the meal. He's not going to throw that in the garbage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I guess we can stop here, even though it's a long way to go still.
Okay.
That's a lot of.
Okay.
Tomorrow's another day.
So we did.
Tomorrow's another
How
day.
is everybody? I mean, everyone's going very. Am I going extra slow? Like
I don't know.
everybody does it in
Some of this
40,
hard
45,
stuff.
45 minutes, and
It's hard.
I didn't even do. Okay. As long as everyone's happy.
Yeah. But,
Okay, yeah.
okay.